Good morning, everybody. It's me, Teri Hunter. I decided to start a few minutes early because I've been having trouble getting it to start. So I'm excited. We did a good job. Good morning, Welsh. It's great to see you here. I know you're the first one in. It is going to be an interesting week, I think. I've been, you guys know, I've told you so many times that I've been studying past life astrology with Brian Coulter, and it's really led me to look into Chiron, and Chiron is so interesting. Good morning, Katerina. Good morning, Jules. Good morning, Posted Up. Good morning, Sheena is. Good morning, Juan. Because, and I bring this up because Chiron is at 12 degrees this week. Let me look at my notes. Chiron is at 12 degrees. The sun will be at 13 degrees and Mercury will be at 14 degrees Aries. I think this is so interesting and so powerful in the sense that the sun represents how we project ourselves out into the world. Mercury is our thought process. And Chiron is the wound that we bring into this experience. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the mythological story of Chiron, but essentially Chiron is a centaur, and he was considered the wisest of centaurs. He was born of Saturn, Kronos, and I think you say it's Philina. Let me see. How do you say her name? Philyra. And when Saturn, and I'm going to call him Saturn instead of Kronos, and Philyra, they morphed into horses. So when they mated, they were in horse form. So when Chiron was born, he was half horse and half human. And Philyra was traumatized and horrified and abandoned him. So here is the initial wound. He was then raised by, I believe it was Apollo, who taught him how to be a healer. And his biggest challenge was that he could never truly heal himself. He could heal others. He was wounded by Hercules in a battle with some bad centaurs. And because he was a demigod, he could not die. The story goes on, and I could talk about that forever. But the reason I bring it up is because if we are, as a group, looking at how we can be of the biggest light, how is our wound a gift? My Chiron happens to be in Aquarius, and it has a lot to do with me, and it has an opposition to Uranus. So anyway, I want to talk more about the sun and Mercury, because I think this is an opportunity to start to examine and ask ourselves where we can shift our wound into a tool, into a gift, into an intuition that can allow us to supersede our pattern. It is, it's not easy. It's not easy because it is really going to hit us in a way that, Chiron could never heal his own wound. He could only help others heal. So if we can, on some level, come to an understanding that certain wounds are going to leave scars. But if we stare at the scar, if we pick at the scar or the scab, that's where we get tripped up. Sometimes we just have to let it be as healed as it could possibly be. So I think this is super important because now I'm going to go to the degrees. The sun is at the 13 degrees. So this would be the Aryan degree. Chiron is in the Piscean degree, 12 degrees. So where is the spiritual and how can I be brave, Aries? And then I have the 14th degree is the Taurus degree. So where could I be potentially being in a fixed energy about how I'm thinking? This is week, I got to tell you, talk about highs and lows. Friday on the new moon, I had a migraine. I was in bed all day. Lucky didn't even know what to do. It's never happened before to me. And it made me think deeper about things that are going on and the wounds I carry. I'm an Aries rising, and it's not near my rising degree yet, but a lot of my clients have this aspect going on. Now, so that's happening this week. We also have on the 5th, we have Saturn and Mars becoming conjunct, okay, in Aquarius. Saturn is in its domicile on some level. It's ancient ruler of Aquarius. And Mars is exalted in Capricorn. So I'm saying this because this is, to me, the 22 degrees, it can be a scary degree, but right now in the year 2022, it's about cooperation. So Saturn is saying, I've learned. I'm Father Time. I have learned the ways of my, Cronus days, and now I want to be more forward thinking while I create structures that we can depend on that are good for everybody. 11th house Aquarius. Mars working in cooperation with Saturn. When a planet is conjunct, they're fused. Their energies are like sitting on top of each other. So to me, this is where the brave aspect of Mars and Saturn's Father Time wisdom come together to start to rewrite and give birth to new structures that are good for everybody. Now, that aspect is squaring the nodes. The North Node in Taurus and the South Node in Scorpio. So a lot of this is going to be how do I individualize and make my own resources? How can I create new structure? How can I be brave and utilize my networks in order to facilitate my hopes and dreams, 11th house Aquarius, and where on some level, maybe I need to be egoless, Scorpio, South Node, in how others are perceiving it or how I will do it, or even in the idea that maybe I've depended on people and now I have to be brave, Mars, in depending upon myself. And can I do it? And I think what Saturn is saying is this is about long-term goals, about being willing to work hard, because I think that this aspect, when Mars takes about 2 years to go around the whole zodiac, if I remember correctly. So in that 2-year time, they won't meet up again. And I don't think they'll meet up again in Scorpio. But this to me is about setting up a dynamic where I may be nervous. Again, squares are frictions. So I may be scared that I can't do this. But, taking my time, Saturn, being brave and courageous, Mars, and putting them together and being willing to shave off some of the things that I have. When I say shave off, they're not excuses, but reasons, obstacles that I have let sit in my path and I've been fearful of addressing because I didn't think I could do it. Okay, then we have on the 5th as well, Venus is going to move into Pisces. And, I always forget to talk in the beginning about who I am and what I am, because I'm so used to meeting all of you here and you're familiar with me. But for the people that aren't here, that's the whole sign, astrology. So Venus is going to go into Pisces at 0 degrees. And I feel as if this is Venus finally saying, oh my goodness, thank you. I'm finally sitting at my best friend's house. I can relax a little bit. I can enjoy myself. I think this is a little bit of a time to pamper myself. And I want to offer it this way, because if I'm looking at the square or the conjunction between Mars and Saturn, and that they're squaring the nodes, and then I just throw Venus in there randomly and ask her, what do I believe about my ability to make money? In Pisces, what do I tell myself in my room by myself about my true worth? Because all of this is up on the table. And I feel like it's up on the table, not necessarily for our immediate success, but for our long-term success, to be able to show that we can thrive and we can achieve our goals even during challenging times on a world stage. Okay, I just turned up the volume. Did that help? Welsh, did that help? I didn't realize I had the volume down. I was meditating earlier. Okay. And then finally, we have all the planets are moving forward finally. So this is going to give an acceleration and a feeling of things moving even more quickly. So that, I think, is the major dynamics of this week. Oh, and I also want to say this, because we know that we're reaching on the 12th. Thank you, Welsh. On the 12th, we're going to see Neptune in Pisces conjoined Jupiter, and this only happens like once every 166 years, I think that's what they were saying. So this is a wonderful time. If your birthday is anywhere around within a couple of days of April 12th, this is a really great time to set goals for yourself, to be brave and be willing to do the hard work of tenacity and determination without necessarily seeing results right away. And I think what you will end up seeing is a huge shift in your consciousness that will make you believe in the unseen. And as you believe in the unseen, you will move mountains while other people are stuck at the bottom of the hill. And they'll be like, how did you do that? And you're like, I didn't do anything. I was being aligned to the outcome I wanted. I didn't know how it was going to show up, but I stuck in there, Saturn, conjunct Mars, bravely, while I was led by Venus through Pisces into a new way of believing, Jupiter and Neptune coming together. Now, the one other thing I want to say about the Jupiter Neptune before I go on any further is that if there are people who are a little bit unconscious, and I say that lightly, but I mean it kind of in a bigger way, there is the potential for gluttony or overindulgence. Overindulgence in masking, in illusion, in watery substances like, whiskey and wine. So be mindful. If you do tend to enjoy a little bit of the fermented grape, just be mindful that it may taste so good, you may just get a little heavy-handed, or people that have an issue may get a little out of control, and you have to decide, Saturn conjunct Mars, if you're going to jump in with them and try to save them, or if they'll drown you. Okay. So again, I can't do the same thing every week all the time because I get bored. I have Uranus in the 5th house of Leo. Oops, sorry. And so we're going to do a tarot card, and we're going to do a 4-card spread. Hey, Small, I didn't say good morning to you. Good morning, Lucy Rose. I think I missed it. Hi, 145 Club, CC Pups. Yay, good to see you. Let me see who else is in here. I did raise the volume. Okay, posted up. I said, hi, Joshua, good morning. Sacred Owl, it's great to see you. Okay, all right. I think I got everybody. If not, I apologize. Good morning, Michelle. Okay, let's start with the tarot card. We're going to start with Pisces and move our way. I just do this because everybody else in the world goes the other way, and it's good for my Aries rising to learn to be patient, which I don't do very well. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to pull one tarot card. I didn't really pull them ahead of time. So the tarot card for the week for Pisces is the 9 of Pentacles. This is a lovely card. It's the self-made woman. If you look, you can see the Venus sign, or at least looks like Venus sign on her garb. I think this is a real opportunity this week for Pisces to look at how you can further your own story, how you can allow yourself to go into your imagination to help bring more bounty into your world. And also, in some respects, not to look at your demons, but to see how you have conquered so many of them already. I feel as if often the human is so used to striving for something that they spend very little time celebrating their accomplishments. And on top of that, I feel that there is this little snail in the foreground. And I feel like this might be a little Saturnian. It's getting sight on what you want. It's trusting your ability to make it happen. It's knowing that bounty is at your feet. And part of it is being brave as you walk through the I don't know how it's always going to happen, because the how feels like it comes a little bit in Hansel and Gretel. Like you take an action and then spirit, Jupiter and Neptune conjunct, inspires you. And Jupiter's been going through your sign for a while now. So there may be inspirations that have come up, and now it might be time to start to think about how to really implement them in a long-term way, the Saturn Mars conjunction. Okay, let's do the 4-card spread and then go from here, get a little more detail. So again, I like to go Pisces, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. I believe the moon is immensely important, on a par with the rising. It's like my perception affects my mood affects my perception. And then that affects how I project into the world, my sun. So I'm going to just keep banging that thing home forever and a day. All right, Pisces. Oceana is being joined by the transformational death card. Aurora is being joined by the focus card. Ivana is being joined by the truth card. And Xana is being joined by the cow. This is really, really very wonderful, because I can look at Oceana and I can say this could be Neptune and Jupiter. As it becomes conjunct, your beliefs may start to shift in a way that does not seem practical. And the less practical and the less realistic it is, the more I want to celebrate that transformation. Because you guys know that I always see Oceana swimming up in the light towards the whale. And the whale talks about my soul, my destiny, and what I want. And I want to offer it this way, because what I think there could be for Pisces is to get more focus and more, because I see the focus card, but I also think this is something you have to learn. Because the transformation may be that part of what has been a challenging aspect for you is that you are so mutable and so willing to, whatever cup I put the water in is the shape it takes. So now this might be a little bit where you put a little spit and polish on your focus in order to start to see you start to really excel. And the excel comes from no judgment, just following my heart and allowing my truth to come to the surface. Because there's the angel's advice is the truth card, and Ivana is about vulnerability to your deepest truth. And part of that deepest truth may be how you've been participating, because up until now, you've been working on, I don't want to say demons, but sometimes they feel like demons when our mind starts to run amok and we can't slow it down. We can't shift the thought. It feels like we're possessed by something. So I want to offer it this way, because here is Xana offering us protection. And then there's the abundance card, asking and receiving. And I think this is more than just money. I think it's really about trusting that the universe, when I'm aligned to the truth of what I want, brings in whatever I need. And my job is really not to sit and try to gauge how that's going to play out. A lot of people are in fear right now. When Chiron is transiting Aries, it's squaring all the other not all the other cardinal signs, but it's squaring the others, two of the others, and one it's opposing. So it's opposing Libra, and it's squaring Cancer and Capricorn. And if Pluto hasn't been enough, it's really very challenging. So now this is about practicing that focus. It's almost about allowing yourself to go into your dream time, go into that quiet place of the bedroom, the ashram, the meditation, and call forth something you've never experienced, but you can imagine, because that Pisces can do. And I think that will start to build a momentum, and your job is to stay connected to that momentum. All right, let's go on to Aquarius. Yay, Lucy Rose. I have to tell you, my dogs has Jupiter and Venus in Taurus. And I got to tell you, I swear I wish I knew his exact time of birth, because sometimes I think that the planets, and I think something about Mars affects him, because Mars makes moves and then Lucky makes weird moves. He had to wear his I'm a troublemaker shirt all week because he was troublesome this week. I swear. Hey, Nikki, welcome in the room today. All right, we're on to our Aquariuses. We're drawing a 1 tarot card, and then we're going to go into the spread. So the Saturn Mars action would be happening in your first house, Aquarius, rising, moon, sun, and stallions. The 10 of Pentacles. Aquarius, I want to tell you, I want to rewrite Saturn. I'm not telling you Saturn is not going to make you work your ass off. And, you know, this would represent Saturn, by the way, because, I mean, technically it represents mutable Earth, which is mutable Earth. I know it off the top of my head. I just can't get it out of my mouth. Virgo. But I want to offer it this way because this is traditional money. It's the family, it's the home, the hearth. It is money inherited in often ways. So I think this could be potentially representing Saturn and bounty, as Saturn is conjunct Mars this week, and it gives us a 2-year cycle before they'll meet again. And I don't know where they'll meet the next time because I didn't look that up. But I do think that this is about being brave in following your own drummer. And I think that there is bounty to be had, because if you think about Aquarius, also the 11th house rules our hopes and our dreams. And it is an Upachaya house that as we age, it brings money and bounty and resources. So Aquarius, I think this is a really awesome time for you to have your ancient ruler, Saturn, representing wisdom, representing Saturn is evolved. Saturn doesn't want to eat his children anymore. Okay. He's just not quite so harsh. And I feel like this is why he co-rules Aquarius and innovation. My main thing about Saturn and why Saturn is so rough, and Saturn's sitting all over me now. Okay. If I didn't have Pluto on me, now I've got Saturn making aspects to my moon and my Chiron. I mean, I think it's actually conjunct my Chiron right now. So it's like, I've been very nostalgic about my past home, my grandparents. I went on Zillow and looked up the house I grew up in, and I cried for like, I don't know, an hour and a half looking at how they renovated it and destroyed the property. I was so ruined. But anyway, because my point is that if we can take Saturn and start to look at it as the wisdom offered through all the harshness that has been up until now, and then rather than looking at Mars as this warrior, we can say that Mars is asking me to be brave and courageous in the wisdom I've gained, and now put it in the 3D world, and that'll bring bounty. So here we go. I listen to all sorts of different Vedic astrologers, evolutionary astrologers. I like to call myself an intuitive astrologer because I'm not stuck to the rules. I'm kind of a rogue and kind of rebel that way. But I want to offer this because I really believe that there is free will. And if we're willing to own that free will, that's choice. That's what karma is coming into the situation that we've been in before and getting an opportunity to make a new choice that's of a vibration more aligned to us. That is the human experience exalted. Okay. So for me, it's like, if I keep putting those planets and victimizing myself to those planets, then I'm not really evolving. I'm just making excuses, and I don't like to make excuses. Okay, here we go. Aquarius, Layla is saying to spend time in nature and telling God and the angels your intention. Crystal is saying have faith and hope. There's more on the horizon that you can't see. Sonia is representing your team, and Oceana is asking you to follow your heart, which is sometimes might be a little bit challenging for Aquarius, not only being an air sign, but also being so scientifically minded, you know? So I want to offer this because you may have a very innovative idea, and your willingness to, because sometimes we have ideas and we just have no idea how to implement them. But if we spend time meditating on it or telling God and the angels, I had this idea for the pool noodle. God, how can I make the pool noodle? And how can I make it viable? I think you guys all know that the pool noodle guy I can barely say that. Pool noodle guy made millions of dollars on a piece of styrofoam. Logic has to get thrown out of the room if we want to really succeed. Okay, Layla is being joined by the Deer. Crystal's being joined by the King. Sonia is being joined by the High Priestess. And Oceana is being joined by the Frog. This is really kind of cool. So let me offer this because, I believe Aquarius by nature is a big dreamer. That's why you represent hopes and dreams. It's why you're an Upachaya house, because sometimes technology has to catch up with your dreams. I'm mid-century modern. So when I was raised, they had like 3 dolls, the Barbie and then the crying violet, and there was no such thing as Cabbage Patch, and there was like 11 channels on TV. So as technology, as innovation took place, it opened up my world, because I think this is about being gentle and open-minded as you walk through an innovative chapter. And I think it could very easily be one that is a 2-year process of putting something out there. The more we look at it, TikTok and Instagram and especially TikTok, people are making money, living their lives, filming their lives, miming other comedians. It's so innovative how we can make our resources and express ourselves. So this is about being gentle and diplomatic. I don't think it's about fear. As you sit with spirit and you contemplate things that feel totally out of this world, because here's the King, and this represents justice, karma, things happening. And Crystal saying, have faith and hope. There's more on the horizon that you can't see. This is very aching. When I was younger, I remember my grandfather passed away when I was 37, and everybody was fighting over what little money he had. Some of my family members are such interesting characters. And so my mother and her sister, blah, blah, having their whatever. And I remember thinking to myself, Grandpa, don't worry about me. I'll be fine. Somehow I'll be fine. And I didn't know that I would sit my Sunday morning on a computer talking to people around the world, but I am. So I feel like Aquarius, this is really an opportunity, because you've got bounty coming to you if you're brave, because you've got your team here working on a higher version of what you want. And I think you're bringing something to humanity that you don't even know you're bringing. More and more, I think that the true teachers of this world are not going to be people who sit up on a podium and tell us how it should be. It's going to be people who walked through the trenches, people who fell and got up again. And the more we are willing to be compassionate for ourselves, the easier it is to be compassionate for others, because Aquarius, now there's that soul's calling again. We saw this with Pisces, and this is what's truly going to release you from any emotional baggage you have. If you feel alien, or you feel left out, or you feel like, I don't relate, because that's so Aquarian. I feel like spending time with God and the angels, really letting them know how you would like to serve and how it can bring you bounty, because there's nothing wrong with money. There is nothing wrong with money. It's what people do with money and how they use it. So let's go on to our Capricorns, our little goatees. Goatees, did I say that? Oh God, I'm so cheeky. Did I tell you guys that my dog bit me this week? I just have to say it. I'm still traumatized. My Taurus moon is still traumatized, but it was my fault. So it's always my fault when it comes to him. I know. I went in, he was eating something, and he has got food issues, I'll tell you. He has since he was a puppy. Bad lucky, I know. I was so mad at him. I treated him like my husband. I'm like, I'm not talking to you. And I went to bed, and I left him in the bedroom, and he just did not know what to do. He was like so sad. But yeah, what happened was, you guys know he hasn't been feeling well. So he was eating and his eyes were running. And I went and wiped one eye. And then I went in for the second eye, and he had his stick, and he was like, "Argh," and he got me. And I had to go take a walk. Oh, I was so freaking mad. I'm just like, I just don't understand why he has these food issues. I don't get it. I don't deprive him of anything. He just came that way. And it's funny that I would be scared of big dogs, because big dogs are never cranky, at least not the ones I've known. My little dog, he has moody. I know. All right, here we go. I think he's just, yeah, I think he was sick of me poking at him, Lucy Rose, doing his feet. And Harley did too. Harley bit you this week? No. Yeah, my dog can be grouchy. I'm really, I kind of want to get him a t-shirt that says, I'm really cute, but I could be an asshole. Oh, I'm so mean. I shouldn't say that. Okay, here we go. Capricorn. Our tarot card for you this week is the Eight of Pentacles. Now, this is an interesting card. It again refers to Virgo energy. It's the mutable earth sign. It is about detail. It's not about bounty. It's about paying attention to the detail of that bounty. The apprentice here has already, done the first, second draft of his pentacles, and now he's going in and fine tuning things. And I want to say this because your ruling planet, Saturn, is meeting with Mars. So I want to offer this. Where are your fears paralyzing you? Because I feel like that might be part of the detail to actually moving forward in a, this is, according to the book I use, the 8, this is mutable earth. The cardinals are the first two, 2, 3, and 4 are the cardinal earth. And the 5, 6, and 7 are fixed earth. And then the 8, 9, and 10 are the mutable earth. So for this, I just want to say this for Capricorn. I think that there's something about achievement to a certain point, and now maybe there's fear. Maybe you don't know the structure of moving forward, or you don't know how the moving forward is. And because you're Capricorn, you're thinking, I need to know what the road is. And I feel like maybe this is a little bit about being, this is during this conjunction, kind of being a little bit brave in not having to take action just yet, but waiting again for that inspired idea. Because I feel as if there's something that's already been built, but now it's about building upon that, fine tuning that, making that more tangible. Capricorn, if it builds something and it doesn't come into the real world, it doesn't really count for the Capricorn. It's like, yeah, I need to see it built. So, all right, let's go on to our angel reading for Capricorn. Oh my God, small. It made me so nervous that Lucky was going to start to give me crap about everything, but it's just really food. He only does it, and he's done it his whole life. And every time he's done something naughty, I can always trace it back to something that I did. And that bugs me. I'm constantly finding out I'm fabulously flawed. Caps are, oh, right, Lucy Rose, caps are cardinal earth. Yes. But the card here is mutable. So maybe they need to be a little bit more mutable in their viewpoint of looking at things. Okay. So let's go for Capricorn. Our first angel is Azure, saying your desired outcome will happen in the near future. Athena saying it's safe to lovingly assert yourself. Desiree saying check out the conditions. And Bethany is talking about self-care. Azure is being joined by the king. Athena's being joined by the forgiveness card. Desiree's being joined by the fire fairy. And Bethany is being joined by the diplomacy, the deer. I very much think for Capricorn that this is a moment in time when you may be thinking, oh, I need to take action. I need to move the story forward. And on some level, I think maybe we're going to be wanting Spirit to give us some divine inspiration that takes the detail to another level. Or there's something that you're about to find out this week, because as you're saying, your desired outcome will happen in the near future. Have patience and faith. And there's the king. And to me, this is really not about men. It's about justice. It's about, when I put a focus out to the universe, it is not only just and fair, it is karmically aligned. It's like hitting the F key on the computer. If you want F, you don't hit G, you hit F, and it will appear. So this is what I think Capricorn is starting to connect to. And this might be what the whole transit through Pluto is, because here is the forgiveness card, which we know is an understanding, the shifting and turning into a tool on how to assert myself. And sometimes the assertion comes from not asserting myself, but asserting myself in knowing that information, inspiration, resources, time, people, and dynamics are going to come into my life that will move the story forward. The angels are saying that conditions have not been favorable for you to feel inspired. And because you're ruled by the goat, you're constantly going uphill. You're the sign that works hard even when you're exhausted. You're the sign that says, I don't care how I feel. I need to just get it done. And this is about shifting that, because how you feel is important. So here, Bethany saying this is about self-care, and there's the gentleness and diplomacy card. I think, now this is what I want to offer. We're going into this Jupiter-Neptune conjunction on the 12th in the Pacific. I believe it's the 12th. So we're going to see these two planets are already sitting within a few degrees of each other. Divine inspiration could be coming to you. And part of that is to help you shift in a more structured way to understand that the laws of attraction are as viable and as real as it is you pounding nails into a board and building a structure. And now your self-care comes from being gentle with yourself as you seek and invite in the inspiration that has been not coming up until now. That's what I want to say for Capricorn. All right, let's go on to our Sagittariuses. Yay, Lucy Rose. Joshua, you know what I'd say about the Uranus and Neptune are generational. So yes, they will have influence on that whole, your first house. I would say if your first house is Capricorn, and then Uranus is in there and Neptune, then there's a good possibility that you're going to find structure, Capricorn, in liberating yourself, Uranus, in a spiritual way. Now, I don't know what the other aspects are, but the first house is always about the self and how you're projecting yourself and how you see yourself. And that's why I think the moon is so important, because how you view yourself and how you view the world affects your emotions, and then your emotions affect how you experience things. It's why two children can be born of the same parents and one is totally forgiving and the other one can't forget a damn thing. Perception. Taurus moon. Yeah, I got a Taurus moon. Okay. On to our beautiful, beautiful Sagittariuses. And Chiron is a centaur. Chiron, and I want to offer this because Chiron was ultimately put out of his pain, but it was through his ultimate sacrifice for Prometheus, offering himself up so that Prometheus could be released from the rock. And, Prometheus stole fire from the gods and brought wisdom and knowledge to humanity. Oh, thank you, Welsh. I'm so glad you enjoyed the moon. I'm going to do some more things. I'm thinking about a webinar. I want to talk about Chiron and the nodes a little bit more. So I'm trying to structure something up. I'm hoping to have a seminar, a webinar outlined for y'all for May. So I'm working on that. Okay, Sagittarius, our card for, oh, this is wonderful. Look, Sagittarius, we have the 9 of Cups. So this is mutable water, which is Pisces. This is celebration and self-satisfaction. And I want to offer it this way because the human, I think one of the most challenging things for the human is self-satisfaction. It feels almost like every time the human starts to feel a little bit at ease with themselves, they sort of do this look over their shoulder. We got to get used to the ease, man. That's what all of this is about, is bringing more ease. Thank you, McKenna. I really want to, because I've been thinking about that there's there's all these, when I work with Brian, he studied with Stephen Forrester. Sorry, Sagittarius, I'll get back. Sorry, Juan. Okay, I'll tell this in between. Remind me in between. I'm going to go on to Sagittarius and then I'll tell you. Okay, Sagittarius, our first angel is Crystal. The second is Ariel. The third is Indriel, and the final is Fiona. Okay, so now let's talk about your ruling planet meeting up with Neptune. There is, I got to say, meditating, spending time, putting that intention, and almost like, I want to offer it this way. I feel like thinking of Jupiter as your daddy right now. I know Jupiter doesn't rule fathers, but it rules your sign. So if you say to yourself, okay, I'm willing to shift my beliefs. I'm willing to go into the unknown for my personal satisfaction. So what if, and I don't even care what the topic is. I don't care if you want a relationship. I don't care if you want a new job. I feel like this is the opportunity to create such a stronger connection with your guides and your angels in a way that you feel like you're having a conversation. Because I will say that while I'm a total human, okay? I have my moments. Let me tell you, I do feel that when I don't feel connected to spirit or when I feel lonely is when I've forgotten that they're there for me and that there is a wisdom to everything. And that's what makes me so fascinated with Chiron. Okay. Crystal is being joined by the disruption card, Sagittarius. Ariel is being joined by the birth and the rebirth card. Indriel is being joined by the Grail Knight. And Fiona is being joined by the burden card. Okay. Crystal says, have faith and hope there's more on the horizon that you can't see. And I want to offer the disruption card. Doesn't feel like it's straight up disruption, but there could be disruption around the world that has you feeling as if maybe things are going to get harder before they get easier. And I want to offer it this way, because in challenging times, there is always humans that will thrive and thrive beyond what seems realistic. This is why I love studying history, because there are African Americans that were not called African Americans in 17 something or other, but they were free. They owned land. They thrived. And it was not because they were lucky. It was because vibrationally, somehow they were aligned to that experience and their souls were representing what could be, not what was. Because for my Sagittariuses, through your connection to the angelic realm and your spiritual practices, you're being offered a rebirth. And I feel like this is where that Jupiter-Neptune conjunction, and they're already coming together. We also see Chiron and we see Mercury and the Sun. Really going to ask everybody who, we all have Aries in our chart somewhere. And how are we viewing ourselves? What do we think about? What do we read about? What am I chewing on? Where is my monkey mind taking me down an old story that doesn't serve me anymore? Because my connection to spirit is calling for me to make that old story a good story. I read this book called The Bridge Across Forever by Richard Bach years ago, the 80s. And there was a passage that said, at some point you will come to thank your past for the experiences you had. And I remember before vision boards, I remember going to my little electric typewriter and transcribing that and putting it on a bulletin board in my bedroom, because my at that time, my life was so suck ass, pardon my language, that I didn't think I'd ever feel like it was a blessing. And now I do. I don't like living through those situations, but I've learned how to pull the tool out of it. I've learned how to look deeper into my energetic participation, my viewpoint, my focus, and then the situation. It's always a triad. That's the thing about Chiron. Chiron is a triad. It's the victim mentality, it's the rescuer mentality, and then there's the perpetrator mentality that all comes into play here. So everybody plays a role. And sometimes inadvertently, we're the perpetrators of our own wound because we think about it over and over again. So the Grail Knight is here asking you to seek the sacred. And there's Indriel, the light worker, through a spiritual connection that will unleash you from anything that's been holding you in a sad place, anything making you feel like, I don't feel satisfied. Now I want to claim that satisfied. And I want to say, I'm going to experience a conjunction of my two ruling planets all at once. And I'm going to claim it and I'm going to declare it, because there's still the burden of having to go to God and the angels and sitting within this place of the unknown. And I don't think that it's the unknown because it's not happening. It's because there's a triad going on. And you may be putting your intention out there, but we still have to get the other parties in alignment to make the experience in the 3D world. But it's coming. Trust and call it forth. Okay, on to our Scorpios. Okay. Now, I want to say this because I've been around the planet a little while, and the nodes take, I think they say 19 years to go around the whole zodiac. So this is my second time around that I remember, because I actually remember what was happening 19 years ago, because I moved into this apartment 19 years ago. And I want to offer this because I'm mentioning it because as Scorpio as the South Node traverses Scorpio, I really think many people will be asked, where am I depending upon others in a way that is not healthy for me? Where am I looking to plug into something, whether it's makes me happy or not, but on a superficial level will make me feel safe? Because I think it's time to be brave there, meaning to step out of that energy. All right, Scorpio. Let's see what your tarot card is this week. We have the Queen of Cups, which I think is perfect because obviously by Scorpio is ruled by water. And look at the little kid underneath. I feel as if for my Scorpios, I really want to focus in on this little child, the little mermaid energy, and looking deeper into the emotional body, and not from that place of your experiences, but more from that Platonian place where you're willing to look deeper into the layers. You know, this is what I was going to say about, dang it, I did it again. I should have stopped between Sagittarius. But this idea of the degrees is very interesting to me, because the degrees to me give more detail into the soul's experience. So when we get to those anaretic degrees, the end of a house, they're very powerful. And Stephen Forrester per Brian pushes the nodes into the next house when he sees that. I think it's very important not to do that, because I think that there is a mastering of a house. So I want to offer it this way, because I feel like Scorpio is being asked to look deeper at where they've mastered an intuition, and that intuition may not be something they like. I'm going to say it that way because it may call forth a difficult decision, a place where you're not being fulfilled or you're not feeling aligned, and yet there's that other people's idea that like, I have to do that somehow. I'm obligated somehow. I don't know why I'm putting it that way, but let's see. Scorpio, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. You know, when I first started feeling intuitive, it felt like a lot of the things I would hear or feel would be negative or feel scary. And then I started to feel like that's like a very bass drum beating. You know, when you're driving along a street and somebody's playing their music really loud, you can feel the bass inside your heart. That's a little scorpionic to me. And I feel like sometimes Scorpio would get scared to feel that. So let's see. There's Xana saying you're being protected. There's Layla spending time in nature with God and the angels, telling them your perceptions, your perspectives. Desiree is saying conditions have not been favorable. And then we have Astera asking you to reach for the stars with your dreams and desires. And it's funny, as I said that, I almost felt like Scorpio just wanted to feel peace of mind. Let's see. Xana is saying you're being protected, and there's the High Priestess. Layla's being joined by the Disruption card. Desiree is being joined by the Wasp. And Esther is being joined by the Queen. Okay, this is how I want to say it. You know, I love all the signs for different reasons. And Scorpio, I've got Neptune natally and Mercury and my power of fortune in Scorpio, all bunched up together. And one of the challenges I had, because I have Mercury opposing my moon in Taurus, right? Is that other people did not appreciate my intuition, especially when they didn't ask for it. Now I'm beginning to wonder if part of this challenge that you're feeling is you have an intuition that you know that other people don't particularly appreciate. And they're asking you to keep your opinions or your thoughts to yourself. Because here I have the High Priestess, which is all about intuition, all about, the other side, about, dealing with things of the unseen. And there's Xana saying you're being protected, Scorpio. And in the opportunity or the obstacle, we have the Disruption card and Layla. And Layla talks about spending time in nature with God and the angels. And I feel like this is about alignment to Scorpio in an energy that feels authentic to them. Meaning, being able to have that deep, savory, intense conversation and not have it feel intimidating or have people be, you don't know that because, you can't, there's no evidence of that. That'll drive a Scorpio crazy when they know something and someone tells them, well, there's no evidence of that. They'll be like, no, I know it's true, because that's where I think is going on. Somehow with Wasp here and Desiree, somehow something in the 3D world is trying to tell you don't know what you know. And I think you just need to know what you know and not try to convince anybody else of it. That's because I think the proof will show itself up. It will somehow reveal itself, and sort of, in order to be a benefit with that, to feel stronger in this nurturing energy of trusting your intuition, I think you're going to have to sit back and allow this to sort of receive it. This is how I want to put it. Sometimes when I was younger, I used to always say, oh, karma's going to get you. Karma's going to get you. And I was the just person. I was the right person. And you know what? Oftentimes I never saw karma get anybody anything. So this is what I want to say. Karma shifted for me. It wasn't about them getting their comeuppance. It was about me getting my bounty. So I feel like Spirit is actually asking you to ignore everybody else. I hate to say it that way. To trust an inner knowing, to not look for alignment with other people, and to soldier on. If we think about Scorpio, your ancient ruler is Mars. And Mars is having this conversation with Saturn. So I think this is about Scorpio saying, I'm willing to trust Father Time and the wisdom that Saturn has to offer when I trust my inner knowing, and then let the other people catch up. And oftentimes these people are the people that are the closest to us, the people that sit in our heart under here, and they drive us a little crazy. Okay. All right. So going on to our Libras. I didn't say Libra. The older I get, the more I don't feel like a Libra. I was hoping I would, but I really don't. I feel so much more Taurian and Arian, and I feel like I'm always stretching for that Libra diplomacy, because when I try to be diplomatic, people blow me off. Like when I try to say something, like I will say something 10, 11 times really nicely. We should blah, 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 blah. And people blow me off. And then my friggin' damn Aries goes like, rah! And now I have Pluto squaring my Mars. God bless. Thanks, Welsh. All right, guys, I'm going to say it. Hit that like button. We like the likes. Maybe that's our progressed chart. Exactly. My progressed chart, my moon, I think, is in Cancer now. And My sun is at the top of my chart in Sagittarius. I'm trying to think what else is going on. All right, Libra, let's see what your tarot card is this week. All right, here we have the Four of Swords. This is a cardinal air, Libra. And I want to offer this because Libra is getting Libra energy in an air sign, and this is asking you for rest. It's asking you to kind of, we can see the man, he's praying, okay, or it looks like he's got praying hands. And we can see the church, you know, the stained glass window. And I feel as if for Libra right now, Saturn is exalted in Libra. And I say this because there's cooperation all over the place with these planets, these conversations are having. So if we think about the idea of Saturn being exalted in Libra, it wants to be fair as it has evolved. It wants to put in structures of peace and diplomacy and to keep the peace and to be a peacemaker. And I feel like for Libra right now, this peace feels like it's within your own mind. Within your own mind, you know, it's almost as if the worry represented by the three swords sitting above this guy is superseding everything he knows that sits beneath him with the one sword. And I feel as if, as a Libra myself, I've tended to focus on my negative traits lately. There have been people that have triggered me in ways where I'm scraping and trying so hard to be balanced and to be effective in my communication. And I feel as if people are like, literally, it's just not happening on the other side. And I just got to go to bed. Give yourself a break, Libra, because you know what? You may be getting really frustrated with the lack of being able to calm your mind down and old habits. You know, if we think about Chiron being in Aries, there's an opposition. So if Libra sun is anywhere around 12 degrees, then you could be having this opposition hitting a wound of some kind. And this feels very much like Libra can be self-critical, you know, like getting up their own grill for not being perfect. Sometimes I think that they feel like lessons, but they're really remembering who we really are. And we remember how powerful we are. And I think that's challenging, Lucy Rose, because if we remember how powerful we are, then we have to co-create all the nasty in our lives. Like I got to look at my parents and say, you know, I picked you. I got to look at my sister and say, I picked you, and kind of look at this wound I have of Chiron in Aquarius at 22 degrees. And my wound comes from a lack of cooperation somehow. I'm not going to just say I was murdered in a past life and that's my wound. Chiron's wound comes from never feeling accepted. Chiron helped other people with his wisdom with their wounds, and he couldn't fix his own wound. That's frustrating. So that's what I think is going on. So if you guys are experiencing that, then the gentility is what's important. The giving it a rest, trying not to fix it. Maybe some wounds are just meant to be. They are what they are. There's a scar. Okay, Libra. Layla's in the first position. Then we have Aurora. Then we have Crystal. We're seeing a lot of similar cards. And Sonia. So let me think. Pisces is the 6th house for Libra rising. Thinking off the top of my head. I think it is. No, I don't know. All right, Libra. Layla's being joined by the Queen. Aurora's being joined by the Birth and the Rebirth card. Crystal's being joined by the Baird. And Sonia's being joined by the Lady of the Lake. You know, when I look at this, I want to offer this because I feel like this Jupiter-Neptune conjunction is somehow being very powerful in how Libra is perceiving the viability of living their dreams. Layla talks about spending time in nature with your intentions, and there's the Queen. And I feel as if the Queen is like, she's literally saying, I'm having trouble receiving. Spirit, help me, please. I'm having trouble receiving. I'm having trouble believing because my worry is somehow superseding my ability to truly rest. And I know this is supposed to be a card of rest, and I look at it, but I almost feel like this guy looks like he's dead, like he's exhausted, like this is not real rest. Aurora is saying you're flying high right now, don't descend. And there's the birth and the rebirth card. You know, one of my, I can be very frustrating, not only to other people, but to myself when I'm constantly looking for the layers of my co-creation. How did I co-create Lucky giving me a bite? How did I co-create, this person being rude to me, or this person dismissing when I'm being so intentional about my communication? How am I co-creating this? And it's like Chiron in some ways. There are wounds that are so deep that there's an unconscious layer that we actually operate on. So this is what I think. This birth and this rebirth card feels like it's an ability to see the unconscious layer. Let me tell you why. Because Crystal says, have faith and hope. There's more on the horizon that you can't see. And there's the history card. So I want to offer it this way. Libra, maybe, we talk about this wound. We talk about even, Joshua was saying right here, some scars are just part of who we are. Exactly. I agree. And maybe that's part of where Libra is not being able to give it a rest, because there's too much perfectionism trying to be found in the balance. And maybe there's just no balance, because here's Sonia saying your team is loving on you while you find the courage to realize that there are sometimes in the human experience, the only way to feel the storm or to feel relief from the storm is to realize you're part of it. You're in it and you got to write it out. And sometimes there's nothing you can do but be flexible. There's nothing you can do but say, all I have is a viewpoint about this. And am I gonna work myself over? I've had a lot of people are in fear right now. I mean, let's look at it. The world is, there's war going on. There is pandemics and new versions of the pandemic. There's fear just flowing through this planet like a current. And I feel as if for Libra, part of this is about remembering that you represent the balance. Remembering to surrender to the flow, just like Lucy says. And in that surrender to the flow, bounty comes to you in times when people did not think there would be bounty. Because if people are inadvertently expressing their fears to you, you may also be feeling slightly burdened by their fears, your fears, and the world fears all at once. Because you represent peace and harmony, and there's no peace and harmony right now. All right. Let's go on to our Virgos. Rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Here we go, Virgo. Our tarot, the Nine of Pentacles. Very nice. So we talked about this earlier, but we're going to talk about it a little bit again. Nine of Pentacles is about a self-made woman, self-made energy, Venusian energy. I should not say woman. It can be anything receptive. It can be about your skills. It can be about money. But whatever it is, it's about taking the time. There's the snail in the foreground. To see where your fears are. That's the falcon hooded, so that you can work with your fears to create bounty and to feel safe and secure within yourself. The Nine of Pentacles is very much about I can depend on myself. I can trust myself. I can trust my bounty. And then thinking about how naturally dependable and how hard Virgo is willing to work, that makes sense to me. Now I'm wondering if it isn't about enjoying some of that bounty, like splurging on yourself a little bit. All right. Our first angel for Virgo is Ray. The second is Oceana. The third is Indriel. And the final is Yvonne. Ray is being joined by the Eagle. Oceana is being joined by the Wind Fairy. Indriel is being joined by the Queen. And Yvonne is being joined by the Dragon. When I look at this spread, my very first thing I'm feeling for Virgo is almost as if Virgo is it's like Virgo sees some sort of ease coming or some sort of, self-satisfaction in the material world, feeling it. And at the same time, I feel as if there's a vulnerability to it somehow, that there is almost like an argument between your heart and your head, Virgo. And I'll tell you why I say that. Ray, for me, is always a card of connection to spirit. It talks about yoga and exercise, and then we see a meditative position with my power chakra, my heart chakra, and my throat chakra, all aligned to my third eye. And then here's the connection to the angelic realm. And again, I want to offer this because as Neptune and Jupiter come together, it's an opposition to your sign. And that opposition does not have to be a negative one. And I want to offer it this way, because what I think it is, the opposition is now an argument between your head and your heart. So here's Neptune and Jupiter being all about faith and spirituality. And there? Are you there? Hello? Hello? Are we back? Okay, that was weird. I have Uranus opposite my Mercury now, hitting my moon. So weird. All right. Virgo, maybe a fight between your head and your heart. So this is what I want to say. It's about going back to spirit. It's about going into that meditative state and saying, you know what? I get to trust a little bit more of my bounty by my heart, not my head, because that's very mercurial. Then we have Indriel and the Queen in the angel's advice. And I want to offer this because sometimes when the earth signs are two in Mercury, they're not representing. So here you're representing how when you align your thoughts and your emotional body to what you want, bounty comes in. And I want to offer it this way because this feels like a major shift overall. Like it feels as if Virgo is starting to think this is a practical way of being. And you become vulnerable, that your strength doesn't come from your hard work, although your hard work helps, but it comes first from your being energy and connection to the angelic realm. So this is what I want to say. When I think about this, I feel as if this opposition at first feels a little out of this world for Virgo. So it's like, what? This is pulling on me. And then I say, okay, I've been living in a spiritual community. I've been studying spirituality. I'm not saying every Virgo is going to feel this way, but the people watching this video, the people who aligned here will get it. And they'll start on a soul level to connect, which I think is going to shift everything, which brings this epiphany that, oh, I receive when I'm aligned. And when I'm not aligned, I feel this disruption. And that disruption is the alert that I'm not aligned. So I'm going to go back to being aligned. I'm not going to try to work hard. Maybe I'm just going to sit in meditation first. That's what I want to say. Yep. All right, let's go on to our Leos. Rising moon, sun, and stelliums. I've been lately, I don't know if you all are familiar with Abraham and the laws of attraction and Esther Hicks, big fan myself. Didn't study her as much in the 80s as I do now, but I want to say that I've been doing the air conditioning meditation, literally listening to the sound of an air conditioner while I'm meditating. And I'll tell you, my mind, no matter what meditation I do, it always feels as if there's this struggle in the beginning to calm down the mind. Thank you, Lucy. So I want to offer this way, because when you're meditating, sometimes if you're just trying to quiet your mind, it's an exercise in frustration. So if you find yourself going there, then instead put intention out. Spirit, thank you very much for, I would like to, thanks for paying my phone bill. Don't know how you're going to do it, but thanks for the money showing up. And then giving yourself an opportunity to move into that focus so we can create a new conversation is the way I want to put it. Okay, here we go. Our Leos, your card is the Page of Wands. This is a fire sign, as we know. It's also the infusion of the sign with the pages. So we're going to see passion. We're going to see inspiration and creativity here. And I want to offer this because I feel like this is super important. Now, we can go to this 22-degree conjunction between Mars and Saturn opposing Leo in Aquarius. But I want to offer it this way because it could be about allowing yourself to get out of your fear in the opposition, to take a minute, Saturn, again, fear and time, to be brave as you allow the inspiration to flesh itself out. And like a child, enjoy yourself, telling yourself that it is almost, I want to say, tell yourself a story. It's like allowing the inspiration to come through in such a way where you're, I don't know why I want to, do you see the salamanders? I feel like there's something very transformational about the salamander. I'm going to have to look it up. But I remember when I was studying the tarot that was significant in some way about being flexible, or about, I think a salamander may turn into a different animal and morph, like the caterpillar and the butterfly. I can't quite remember, but I feel like this is part of it. And for Leo, the page is asking you to sort of stand, because I see this hat and this little feather, and I think it's very mercurial in some ways. So I'm looking to the stars. I'm looking up to heaven for inspiration. I'm allowing myself to feel the fire, the passion, the excitement, and not necessarily feel a need to take action, but to allow the inspiration to flourish. Okay. All right, here we go. Our angel reading is, here we go. Okay. Archangel Gabriel. Then we have Sonia. Then we have Daniel. And then we have Indriel. Archangel Gabriel is being joined by the Truth. Sonia's being joined by the Burden card. Daniel's being joined by the Love card. And Indriel's being joined by the Wind Fairy. There's a couple ways I can take this. I want to say this because Archangel Gabriel, for me, really does kind of run all things mercurial. She talks about communications, about turning over any insecurities. But, Gemini is so, the mercurial dynamic is so huge in our world between social media and emails and our everyday activities. So I want to offer it this way because I feel like the wand is offering my Leos an opportunity to dig down to a deeper truth of how you want to spend your days, how you want to spend literally what your life is about. I think about Leo, and I think when I think of Archangel Gabriel, I think, sororities, fraternities, teams, workmates, my neighborhoods, the escalators and sidewalks I walk on. I mean, the amount of information that Gemini covers is huge. So now I've got to get down to it and allow my inspiration, not that mind that is trying to figure out how. And this is a little bit of the challenge, is Mercury can get me into this place of thinking, well, I've had this inspired idea. Now I need to take action on it right now. I need to do it right now. And I don't know about that. I feel like it's about allowing it to percolate, because it feels to me as if there's an inspired action coming in some way or another for Leo. And I want to offer it this way because Sonia talks about a deceased loved one, but it's my team. And then there's the burden card. And there may be something attached to your love life. You know, Leo rules romance. Leo rules fun, childlike behavior, children in general, the conception of children. And in the angel's advice, we have Daniel, the angel of marriage, and the love card. So the burden feels as if it comes from my history in love, in somehow. And now it's time to turn it over. And then I have Indriel, the light worker, and I have the wind fairy. For my Leos, I want to offer this because if you want to have a baby or you're trying to have a baby or you want to, birth a romance of some kind, you're going to have to leave your story at the door. And I say that lovingly, but if you bring your old story into a new situation, you're going to be on alert and you're going to feel insecure all the time. So now this is where I go back to this Chiron idea and the idea that it's a triad, the victim, the rescuer, and the perpetrator. That's the triad, right? The person who perpetrates the wound, the person who rescues you from the wound, and the person who feels the wound. So when you're looking at how am I creating my life, the burden may be because you've been only looking at the physical world and what's happened, and you're not trusting in a connection with the divine that's bringing you something more palatable. And now it's time to really go back into your history and start to pull out what you love, what you want. What is your deepest truth? Because I've said it for a long time, many people will be finding their greatest loves at a later age or at a time when it is unexpected by other people because they're going to represent. So now the wind fairy is asking you to start to put that connection with spirit. Allow for divine guidance to give you inspiration. So if any of you Leos are looking for a relationship, or want to experience more love in a relationship, then the platform you start with is, thank you, Spirit, for bringing people, dynamics, and situations into my life that help me feel love is safe, love is viable, and love prospers and thrives. Because I think that there's something, that just feels people get very attached to their stories. And when we've been hurt, we can't help but want to protect ourselves. It's just how we roll. And so we go in and we look for where we could potentially be vulnerable. Joshua, that's really brave of you to say, because that's very true for so many people. We let the past become the barrier between what can be and what has been. And really the past is just an opportunity to make a different choice. And the choice is usually this: I smell imbalance. I'm going to move away from it. We get scared. We don't want to. We say, no, I finally found that person. It took so long for me to find that person. Now I'm going to push them into this spot in my life, even if it doesn't feel aligned. That's where the human trips up because they're so afraid that the opportunities are so limited. Now it's time to be braver. When I look back on most of my relationships, even friendships, there were things I truly don't know if I've met anybody aligned to how strong I can be. And yet I see other people being stronger than I, or at least more ballsy and pushy than I am. And they have coupled up. And that's where I know that part of me and Chiron is I believe that I'm a victim of somehow. I must. I don't like that, but there must be an underlying energy of it because otherwise it wouldn't continue to repeat in my life. So not being able to surrender my thought process so easily, I have to ask Spirit to help me. Spirit, I'm just in human form right now. And if I don't get a physical experience that rewrites that experience, it keeps running around in my brain. So I'm willing to turn over my insecurities to you. Now, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to trust that if I can put my history where it belongs, you bring me the bounty I'm looking for. The bounty of authentic, flawed love, because that's what it is. Nobody completes anybody. Sorry. It may feel like it at first, but nope, doesn't work that way. All right. Welcome, Melissa. Good to see you. All right, here we go. Let's go on to our Cancers. People don't really learn with words. They learn through experiences. It's why all those hurts stay so much with us, you know, because we experience it and we don't want to experience it again. All right, Cancer, what's our tarot card for you this week? The 10 of Pentacles. Oh, this is kind of funny. When there's so many cards in a deck and the same thing comes up, I'm always kind of fascinated by it. So I really think that this is a little bit different, though, for Cancer, because Cancer rules home and hearth. Cancer rules property. It rules patriotism. It rules the family experience. So let's see what Spirit has to say in the way of bounty and tradition for our Cancers. We have Rosetta saying that you have a divine life's purpose, parenting and teaching children. Well, if that isn't true, I don't know what is. You're ruled by the moon. You rule motherhood. We have Celeste talking about a new home or a new place of employment. Could be a shift in the way I'm thinking. We have Athena in the angel's advice, and then we have Yvonne. Hardest thing for the human to be is to believe and have faith. It's a struggle. Okay, there's the novice joining Rosetta. Celeste is is being joined by the birth and the rebirth card. Athena is being joined by the Lady of the Lake, and Yvonne is being joined by the Raven. Cancer, I'm going to tell you this right now. If you want to get married and have a family, Cancer, rising moon, sun, or stelliums, it will happen. Please be nice to yourself. Please don't go down the road of, oh, I've never seen it, it's not possible, because I think it's absolutely possible. And I think that's what Pluto has been doing for the last, what has it been since 2008, been opposing Cancer. And I think on some level it's been really pulling up where you may have settled for less, where you may have settled for what felt like it was home, but it really wasn't, because Rosetta is offering an unstable. Rosetta is about parenting and teaching and guiding children. And there's the novice, the unstable new beginning. I absolutely believe this has to do with people having babies and starting families and getting their dreams for families to come true. Because here we have Celeste talking about a new home or a place of employment, and there's the birth and the rebirth card. But more often than not, I talk about a shift when we see Celeste, because you can put my physical body anywhere in the world and I have a certain way of perceiving things, and I'm going to perceive them that way. So I believe that Cancer is going to have a shift in the way they're thinking, and they're going to start to assert themselves to a new truth, that maybe everything you have experienced was not good enough. It didn't really play to the picture of everything you want. Because more times than not, people talk about, I want to get married. If we were really aligned to the truth, we would never say, I want to get married. We would say, I want to have a happy life and a partner with someone. I want to have a thriving partnership. We wouldn't care about the piece of paper. Because now I think for Cancer, there's a big deal about vulnerability and timing. And part of that timing was having to go into this little bit of a dark place. I mean, that skull is not there for no reason. There's a transformation, and that transformation is what Pluto's been doing, opposing your sign for the last, 14 years or so. What is it, 2008? I think that's 14 years. So it's been asking you, where would I have settled for less? And Spirit's been saving you. And now it's time to give birth to the idea that I'm going to get everything I want, and timing doesn't matter. What matters is the quality of it. That's what I think. Because I don't want just a little bit of a house. I want everything. I want the whole family. I want extended family. I want a nurturing family. I want the kids. I want the money. I want the house. This card is. It's everything. All right, let's go on to our Tauruses. Oh, you're kidding, Joshua. She starts on Tuesday. What's her name? I'll have to go introduce myself and say hi and be nice. Boy, that market. Oh boy, I hope she likes it. It is. She's going to be working with Nancy. Nancy's wonderful. She's super nice. Whoa. Okay, here we go. We're looking for our tarot card for our, Gemini. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I was just going to just ignore Gemini. How rude. Okay. Sorry. Thank you, Small. You saved me from myself. And you guys can give me a thumbs up for my boo-boos if you want. I'll take those too. I'm fabulously flawed human. And apparently I'm making that known to everybody often lately. Okay. Joshua, what's your mom's name? Oh, her name is Janelle? All right, Gemini, here we go. Our tarot card for you this week is the Tower. This is very exciting. Don't be scared of the Tower, you guys, because I got to tell you, the Tower, every time I did readings back in the day when I was younger, I would do one for my friends and they would end up like a sudden change, but it was always something good, like getting married or getting a new job. So let's see what this illumination, because I think the Tower very much is Uranus. In my one book, they like to think of it as Mars, but I do not. I see that lightning. I see the sudden change. I see the rebellion. The crown is being knocked off of its, it almost looks like a silo. It's not a really fun looking castle, is it? It kind of looks like a prison on top of a Saturnian ice mountain. So I don't think this is so negative. I actually think this is pretty good. So let's see what it's about. Imani, welcome to our show. And Livia, thank you. I say ours because I think of us as a community. I don't think of it as just me. All right, here we go. Gemini, what does the Tower, what beautiful changes could this bring for you? Our first angel is Xana. You're protected during these changes. First thing Spirit wants you to know. Seraphina talks about a change to the family. Bethany talks about self-care. And Opal talking about God taking care of your children. Well, I know Geminis that could take care of themselves over other people, maybe just a few, maybe one. All right, here we go. Let's see if that's actually your children or your inner child. I want to see that because there was a Bethany's about. All right, here I go. I'll be back. Oh. All right. Gemini, Xana says you're being protected in love. Seraphina says is being joined by the dragon. Bethany is being joined by the horse. And Opal is being joined by the disruption card. Whew. Okay. I want to offer this because the Tower, the Tower can feel a little topsy-turvy. And I want to offer it this way, though, because with Xana and the love card being in the foundational position, I almost feel when I look at this as if the child there's something going on with. I'm pulling one more on that final. Okay. I think it's about your history. I think it's about, this is where I'm going. I think there's going to be a sudden change in how this is the Jupiter Neptune as it creeps towards each other. There's going to be some epiphany about Gemini. taking care of themselves in a way that feels very different than they have before. And I want to offer it this way because I don't think this is about intimate love. I think it's about how you love yourself and how others perceive you love yourself. So if indeed Gemini rules everyday activities, and if you're a Gemini that's taking care of everybody else's everyday activities, moms do that. You know, they make sure the kids get where they need to go, there's soccer practice. And then sometimes we take our mom energy into our work environment and making sure everybody else gets to, benefit from our nurturing energy. Because Serafina talks about a happy change to your family, and there's the power and strength card. And I think it's because you start taking care of yourself. Bethany's about taking care of yourself. And then the Sagittarius feels, the horse feels like Sagittarius, feels like that Jupiter-Neptune connection and this epiphany that maybe if I just don't worry about the kids or worry about their lives or worry about what they're doing or worry about if everybody at my work thinks that I'm being good enough to them or doing what they need me to do, I need to rewrite my history, Gemini, because I think God is taking care of something so that people will have an epiphany about your value. And I feel like that it's going to come as a result of a disruption. But to me, this shifts the story. Now I'm starting to see the bear as the enchantment of storytelling because I'm going back to this protection and love card. So let me offer it this way. I think there's the potential that there could be an epiphany or a realization of some kind that makes me feel as if Gemini releases themselves from some sort of obligation or some sort of, it could be something you feel that you have to do, mercurial things. I don't separate Mercury's sort of that work dynamic of the 6th house that much from the 3rd house, because again, it's my teammates, it's my workmates. So if there's a disruption with your workmates, your teammates, anybody that you care about, somehow, I think this is going to illuminate or bring about your value. And I think it's going to turn out better than you think it's going to turn out. So do your best, because when Mars and Saturn square, the people around you may have a moment. The people around you may get restrictive or be a little brash. That's Mars unconscious. So take a breath, take care of you. And I think as a result of that, you may quit your job. You may quit something unexpectedly, but I don't know if that'll mean it's over. I used to have this boss years ago when I worked in Hollywood, and I swear we would get in fights all the time, and I quit like a million times before I actually quit because we used to get in fights. So for some reason, I think that there's a rewrite of your history. I don't know. You may get upset about something. You may finally confess something that you haven't, but I think it clears the air. Yep, there's the perception card. I finally pulled it. So I think things are going to get better. And if this has to do with your children, let your children sort of give it some air. That's all I want to say. Give it a minute, because something will reveal itself. And if you take immediate action, I think it's going to be a little bit more jarring. All right, let's go on to our Tauruses now. He went on vacation for a few weeks, and I don't know what happened. Maybe we just need a break, All right, here we go. On to our Taurus, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. So this is going to be one card representing the week's energy for Taurus. And we have the cup of love. This is the loving energy. I want to offer this to, because your ruling planet is moving into her best friend's house for a while. They're going to hang out. They're going to have cocktails. They're going to talk about boys and girls and have all sorts of Venusian fun. So I want to offer it this way. Because I do think that there's a lot of things going on when I look at this Ace of Cups. I see not just the dove of peace, and I see this upside down W that also looks like an M, and upside down M that looks like a W for almost, was that win? I don't know. And there's this ease of how the hand is holding the cup. Allow my cup to overflow, allowing myself to be, I guess what I want to say is to give to myself what maybe the rest of the world can't give to me right now. That's how I want to put it. So let's see what the angels have to say. Hi, Les. Did you come in the room? There you are. Good to see you. All right. Oh, and hi, Penelope. I just didn't see you. Did I tell you I named I told you last week. My tomato plants, they got a beating this week. Rained so hard, but they're good. All right. Taurus, our first angel is Rochelle. The second is Azure. The third is Rosetta. And the final is Yvonne. Rochelle is being joined by the Transformational Death card. Azure is being joined by the Protection card. Rosetta is being joined by the Horse. And Yvonne's being joined by the Butterfly. You know, when I look at the Ace of Cups, I feel like this has to do with all things Venusian in some ways. I know the cups represent water. They represent the infusion of emotion and love and intuition. But for some reason, this feels like a gift from God for me. I feel like this is God coming in and giving me a little peace of mind. It's almost as if, you know, I'm a Taurus moon, and Uranus has been hovering around my moon for freaking forever and opposing my Mercury. And I think about the idea that Mercury represents siblings. And, Scorpio is my 8th house of transformation and death. And I feel as if I'm constantly being asked to follow my heart versus my obligations, to put down the beast of burden known as the bull, and instead to allow myself to transform in a way, because as you're saying that my desired outcome will happen in the near future, and there's the Protection card. And when I look at Rosetta, I'm not interested in parenting and teaching, but I am interested in feeling loved the way children feel loved. And there's the Horse. And I can't help but look at this and see this Jupiter Neptune conjunction as we're moving into April, and as things feel a little bit, there's going to be sort of a polarizing energy in April, an energy that offers much bounty for some and a little bit of challenge. I always try to put it lightly, harsh challenge for others. So I want to offer it this way for my Tauruses, because you're a fixed sign and because you're ruled by Venus. Again, you've got the North Node going through your sign, so it may make you ravenous to see in the 3D world what it is you want. But there's a vulnerability that gets to be had through the evolutionary process of going through the caterpillar dying and starting to follow your heart in a way that doesn't feel like your heart anymore. It feels like your connection to the angelic realm, like you're being led by God's divine hand. I told you guys earlier in the broadcast that I've been kind of nostalgic for my childhood, and my childhood was fraught with challenges. I was literally, if it was today, my mom would be brought up on child abuse charges. My grandparents are the soft spot for me, but there were challenges even within their relationship. And at the same time, while my grandparents had a challenge, they're the only love I've ever known on this planet. And so I feel like when I look at this spread for Taurus, there could be this idea that you're feeling whatever love you've had feels a little bit like a nostalgic feeling to it. And I feel like Spirit is saying that that's something we can build on. And now it's about allowing the disruption or the things that were out of balance, not to fixate on them, Taurus, but to start to allow yourself to see a bigger picture. of what has to be offered, wisdom that has to be offered as a result of your experience. And I want to say this too, because Taurus, if you're anywhere near 22 degrees Taurus, if you have planets at 22 degrees Taurus, you're going to be squaring the Mars-Saturn dynamic. So there could be this idea of bringing up your history. Hello, Saturn ruling time. And then Mars asking you to be brave to move beyond your history, to see how your history has actually served you, not victimized you or doesn't have to be repeated. Okay, final sign Aries, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Let's see what's going on. Okay, trying to keep this thing try to keep it to an hour and a half, but when I throw that extra card in, it doesn't help. All right, here we go. Yay, Melissa, thank you, everybody. I'm just going to hit that thumbs up for me. I'd appreciate it. I'm getting to that point where I get to walk through some gates on YouTube and get to do new things. And as your channel grows, they give you more access to be more creative with your input on your videos. So I'm working on some of that too. Okay, Aries. What is our tarot card for this week? The Lovers. Okay. So this is the Lovers. You know, everyone goes, ooh, I love seeing the Lovers card. The Lovers card is wonderful, but it represents a couple of things. The first being choice, because the choice of lover is the trajectory of our experience in loving relationships. We see the two characters are naked here because there's a vulnerability that is required to truly love with any depth. And then we see Archangel Gabriel over these two people. Communication, vulnerable communication, truth is what makes a viable relationship. This also represents the sign of Gemini. So I want to offer it this way, because I feel like for my Aries, this is about being very vulnerable in your choice of how you communicate and starting to learn how to communicate in a way that makes Aries aware of how their communication is landing on another person. Oftentimes in my work, I find that I have to say what I feel may be challenging things, but I found that my tone of voice and the way that my way of being makes that challenging thing much more palatable. Now, as an Aries rising, I get to now implement that in my personal life a little bit more. Because again, I said earlier, it's so challenging when I feel like I'm saying to somebody something and I'm trying to be easy and they blow me off. And then I kind of, my Mars goes off and my Mercury in Scorpio goes off. And I'm trying to work through that. So I get to really start to realize, rather than trying to push up on that person and continue to be vulnerable in my conversation and choices with them, maybe I have to be vulnerable to exit and say, you know what, it's not working, or it doesn't feel right. And maybe I need to take a step back and give myself an opportunity to observe. Let's see, what choice is up for you this week? What is Saturn going to ask of you as it sits in fusion with your Mars? I think it's going to ask you to implement that wisdom that you've learned. This is the thing. When we've been on the planet a few times, and let's say we've been with people who were shady or people who don't tell the truth, we can feel it. And we don't walk away. What we do is we stay there and we prove ourselves right, which then proves the other person wrong. There's that Chiron dynamic. Victim, victor, or victim, rescuer, and perpetrator. So sometimes our wound makes us a perpetrator because we punish other people. So I think this is what Aries has to think about this week, is do I want to truly love in a vulnerable way, or do I want to be mad? I don't think it's good to be mad anymore. I'm tired of being mad. You know what I found out about me as I've aged? When I get mad and I yell at someone, I start getting ulcers in my mouth. I'm not supposed to yell at people anymore. I don't have the bodily makeup to do it anymore. My vibration doesn't want to live there anymore. And yet it's a habit I have when I feel threatened. That's how I feel when I get like that. I feel threatened somehow. I feel like when people lie to me, they want to hurt me. Maybe that's my Chiron in Aries. I mean, in Aquarius. Okay, let's look at Aries. What do we got? What are these choices we have to make this week? There's Aurora. There's Merlina. There's Adriana. And there's Desiree. Here we go. Where are we flying high? Where will we be inspiring? You know, because sometimes the inspiration isn't because we're perfect, but because we've been flawed. And people see the evolution of that flaw and the taming of the anger. And there's the butterfly. Ha. So this is where people will see is evolution within our Aries. Merlina says you're confused and indecisive because you're still buying into your own story. Adriana is saying that there's reconciliation ahead. And then we have, all right, this is where I'm going with this. Now is a time for Aries to be vulnerable to their choice, all their choices, and not to villainize them and not to grandiose them, but just to say I made the best choice I could possibly make at the time I made it. And now I get an opportunity to decide if I want to stay that way or if I want to evolve. You know, I would never choose to be indecisive. I would never choose to be unable to stand up for myself. So there's a part of me that's got to own my Aries rising and love her and then work with her. Because when I am very angry, I'm impossible sometimes. I will say it. I won't. Once you get me that freaking Taurus moon, once it intuits that you're not on my side, I get a little funky because I think this is where the history and Merlina this is my obstacle. My history keeps confusing me. I want to say this because maybe some of these people didn't have my worst interest. Maybe I just perceived it that way because I have felt vulnerable. Because Adriana is leading me to the answers to my prayers in all Aries. And now there's a reconciliation to be had. And that reconciliation is to lift the confusion of your history and to rewrite a story. Because Desiree is saying that this is what I think. I think Desiree is saying to have the courage to actually look deeper into Aries and to say, are you really a warrior? Are you really so out of control that you're just running around like this blunt, non-emotive energy? I don't think that's true. So I want to offer it this way, because as Saturn and Mars become conjunct, and Saturn says to Aries, have you learned the wisdom of slowing it down for a minute and observing the landscape before just jumping in and jumping to a conclusion or jumping to a decision? Give yourself a minute, because together these two planets and Mars being your ruling planet, we're starting a dynamic, a long-term endeavor that's going to produce rewards potentially when they meet again in 2 years. So, and as the nodes square this dynamic, you can ask yourself, where do I inadvertently get in my own way? Is there a fear underlined? Am I feeling defensive in some way? Am I feeling like people have labeled me and I can't get past that label? I think that's the big thing, is that we get labeled as things, Pisces gets labeled as, kind of not being able to make a decision sometimes because, and I say that because they're so cooperative. They're like, okay. But there's all these other dynamics going on. So overall, I think that it's important for Aries this week to see your own evolution. And in doing so, you have an opportunity to truly inspire others. And it's not about shedding who you are, but incorporating who you are. Being more intentional about your consciousness when you communicate. So I think that's important. All right. I think that's it for this week. I want to thank everybody for being here. I want to remind you that we will have another word vibration of the week. This week's word is insecurity. That will be fun to talk about. And I'm dreaming up some more stuff. I'm going to work on this outline for this webinar. So I'll announce that. Hopefully going to get that going in May for you all. So we can talk about the nodes and Chiron a little bit and look into our contract, our soul's contract, I believe is somewhere in that triad. All right, guys, I'll see you next Sunday, 11 a.m. Pacific time. Thank you so much for joining. Please like, please subscribe, please share. And if you want to get a reading, my information is below. I am available both by Skype, in person, over the phone, and on Zoom. Peace out, guys. Sending love to you. Have a wonderful week.